Sailors can't stop buying. Prick.
Hello and welcome. And 3/4, sorry. Actually, Brandon's a dedicated or an honorary Canadian too. He spent a lot of time in Canada chasing the
Plays
puck
hockey.
That I have.
Yeah.
He's more Canadian than Forrest.
I have.
Whoa.
True.
Shots fired early on in the show.
That
here.
is shots fired.
At least in the sports section, he is.
Okay, well, welcome everybody. This is our Tuesday BTC Mastermind. Today's show, we're talking about the fiat price. Bitcoin being 75K, we're ripping. Next stop, 100K. Next stop, $1 million. And if you ask for Jat, next stop, 10 million, and then 100 million, and then $1 billion. But I'm George.
You can't stop there. You got to go to 10 billion, then 100 billion, $1 trillion, and keep going. It goes on forever.
Nothing
10
stops that
trillion,
train.
100 trillion, quadrillion. Have you guys ever looked into like the, what was that on? How many, the odds of finding a crack in a Bitcoin wallet? It's like 2 to the power of 256, I think it is.
Oh.
But if you look at the actual numbers, it's like, it's crazy. I'll try to find it here maybe quickly. It's in one of Gigi's 21 lessons. Anyways.
I've seen it. It's like a 1 with 72 zeros or something after it.
Yeah.
1 in that number. It's pretty crazy.
How are you guys doing today?
Wild.
We're unfortunately missing our host here today, Robin, as I'm sure you guys have noticed. He got punched in the lip by
In a hockey fight.
Peter Schiff.
Nonetheless.
He what?
In a hockey fight. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, him and Peter Schiff were in a
Donnybrook.
hockey fight, arguing about what's the better sound money. But unfortunately, he's not here. He'll be back next week. He's good though. We were chatting with him before the show here. He seems okay. The lip's a long way from the heart. Hey, Brandon. But
That's true.
anyways, we'll go on without him this week. So I'm Jor. We got Forrest. We got Rajat, Brandon, BTC Mastermind. There it is, right there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
crazy.
This is Pleb Tools. This is my open source website for all sorts of tools and things. But yeah, this is the 2 to the 56. This is the number here, 78 digit number, which is insane. And yeah, so basically, this is just like keys, right? This is a public key that somebody has. This is private key that it's guessing. This is how many times it's guessed, and the estimated time to find a key with longer than the age of the universe.
Wow. I'm going
That's
to
insane.
find this real quickly while we're on this subject here. Have you guys read the book 21 Lessons by Gigi?
No.
No.
Brandon?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I flipped through it a little bit, but I haven't read it cover to cover.
Oh my God, it's good. It's
His
I'd say
stuff
it's a
is so
must.
good.
It's a must read, I think, for
Yeah.
the Bitcoiners out
It's so
there.
good.
Anyways, I think it's called Strength in Numbers here. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah,
right
I
here,
think
right
that's
here, right here. Sorry, Brandon, cut you off.
No, you're good. You got it. I thought you were looking.
Okay, so this is the number here that Forrest just showed. It's kind of I guess Robin's got to approve me here. Damn it.
He will. Just throw it up.
There he is. So this is the readable version of it here.
Mm.
Wow.
This is what I was trying to get at here, like what this number is. Quator vigintillion. Trevigintillion. So that's 2 to the power of the 256. That's how secure Bitcoin is. So
Wait, can you try pronouncing all of those, Jor?
absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I feel like that'd be fun.
I think it's a good starting point here though, because it seems like everything is, I wouldn't say going to shit, but there's a lot of vulnerabilities out there in the world. And it's nice to know that you're storing your keys, if you're doing it properly, behind something like that. I just don't know where else you'd rather be right now in terms of storing your value. And that's really what people should be thinking about when they think of Bitcoin, I think, is storing their value. Obviously, we talk about the medium of exchange and things like that, measurement. But speaking of store of value, Stretch, do you guys want to start there? Is that the reason why we're running right now? Because Sailor's just going berserko?
It's crazy. Really quick before we get into that though, I would be curious because I've seen a few things lately just in the self-custody thing and the AI stuff. I wasn't here with you guys last week, but I've been talking about this in whatever shows I've been on. So whether it's, Rajat or Forrest or, you too, Jor, but just thoughts, because I've seen some people saying things about Bitcoin and being, like with AI, the Claude code, Claude, Claude co-work, like all these things that are happening, people are a little bit nervous about their wallets, things like that, because they just don't know what they don't know, and that's all of us. Like, we're just learning AI, we're just learning some of these things, so they're worried about, well, hey, if I have co-work on my thing, or if I'm using Claude code, like, can it get in while I'm trying to check my wallets? And so I would love for you guys to maybe touch on that, because that's I'm good in those areas, but I'm nowhere near where you guys are when it comes to like the expertise level of every in and out of self custody. So yeah, security.
I mean, I'll just kind of kick off with what I've seen. I mean, even today, so I have a couple of old iPhones that I use as just kind of Bitcoin wallets. I've just been doing that since I got into Bitcoin. This one still has the original one camera there. It's a relic. But I saw a notification pop up on my phone today, basically saying that you need to update this because there's a huge vulnerability. It was from Apple, an update from Apple saying there's a huge vulnerability in software that hasn't been updated. So that suggests to me that there's been some things happening behind the scenes of some older softwares being cracked already, or they're worried about that happening. And so there's a lot of weird things that happened in the last week or so with the Claude code, and the Claude basically coming out and saying, we found this 0-day issue that's going to be a big problem to the world, but we're not going to release it. We're going to let people fix their software first, which, I mean, I think Forrest argued against it in the sense of they're just doing it as kind of like a bluff to say we need more money to keep things safer. And I kind of subscribe to that theory as well. But I think the big thing with that is like they're basically deciding then who gets to win this thing, which companies get to survive this 0-day attack. Claude's going out and saying, well, we're going to team up with Apple, we're going to team up with Microsoft, we're going to team up with NVIDIA, whoever it is. We're going to fix their patches, but everybody else, once that's done, sorry, you're just kind of you're going to be hooped. So I think for the average person watching this, the best thing that you can do is just make sure you have a very limited exposure to your private keys being online, stored online, whether that's through a hot wallet, a lightning wallet. Obviously, you're not going to be storing your information anywhere digitally, but I just kind of go into the assumption now that everything's up for grabs. Like, I just assume that everything's going to be taken from me. So the cool thing about Bitcoin is that you do have the ability to take it offline using something like a cold card queue, which I think we all use and love. And I think that that's the easiest thing that people can do, and then just go from there. But that's number one, is just getting your keys off the internet ASAP.
Yeah, so the big news was Claude coming out with Mythos, which is its new model, and not releasing it to the public. And I think it's called Project Glasswing, and it's what you mentioned there with the Microsoft, Apple, all of this. I don't think it's specifically to try to like fix the things they have before it goes live, but it's more so like to actually check out these underlying systems that are redundant and used on all sorts of different digital infrastructure. But nonetheless, 100%, there are like favorites being picked, by that alone, by giving access to it, even for that. I just wanted to bring attention to this, right? Because the problem here that I see is like the boy who cried wolf. So this is an article on Slate from 2019, and it's about ChatGPT 2.0. This is when ChatGPT first came out, right? This is the LLM at the beginning. And this entire thing is talking about how OpenAI, all the people in OpenAI are saying it's too dangerous, we can't give it access to the internet, all sorts of things that they've since done. And this is, I think it was like a couple billion of parameters, and now we're into like the trillions of parameters, and they're saying the exact same thing. So they said this 7 years ago, right? And they weren't right then, but it's led to now. Is it more serious now? Probably, but is it possibly still just another boy crying wolf? Also, probably, in my opinion. And I think that we're constantly going to have this happen, where there is some things that it could do that could be problematic, and there is some necessity to look at the connection vulnerabilities, which is what Mythos can do. It can look at one thing, it can tie it into another, and then all three of those could be exploited to create one problem. Whereas, somebody, a high level coder, would just look at each one of those and not necessarily make the connection to create the vulnerability. It could also be argued that like Opus 4.6 in the hands of a highly intelligent coder is already incredibly sophisticated at hacking, right? Because it's all about the prompts that you're giving it. It's sort of more like Mythos is that much better that, you know, a junior dev could take it and create some massive problems with it. So I think it's going to be like this constant case of Y2K, where we have to prepare for the change to some sort of digital infrastructure before the sort of doomsday event actually happens. It's kind of going to be this constant fixing of old bugs. Yeah, I don't see it as being that big of an issue. Like, I don't know. There's also the argument of like the internet is going to become less and less usable, and that's already 100% the case. Is it going to become completely unusable? Maybe not, because like AI will fight AI. You'll be able to have like a Nostr client that filters out any AI content with its own AI that figures out what's AI. You know, like, I don't know. That's a possible future where then it actually brings authenticity and human interaction back to social media. That would be great. I mean, it's very hard to predict the future, but those are kind of my thoughts around this. And of course, reiterate George's point, none of this is giving absolute confidence that anything you do online is secure. So you have to take self-custody using an offline method, like, again, the cold card queue. Any Bitcoin and Lightning channels, Lightning wallets, custodial wallets, exchanges, though, that's not real Bitcoin until you take ownership of it into an offline device or using an offline device.
Yeah, I think it's just it's good to keep talking about, because it's like you said, Forrest, it's going to be something that keeps coming up over and over and over. And you know, we mentioned off the rip like where the price is going, and I talked about somebody yesterday. You know, it's like you guys mentioned, it's going to 1 million, it's going to 10 million, it's going to 100 million, and that's in today's dollars. That's today's dollars. That's not like people always like, oh yeah, well, what's that going to buy you though? No. Today's dollars. Today. That's nothing stops the train. It's the government. Unless you're telling me the government's going to stop printing all around the world, all the governments are just magically going to reverse trend, then okay, then that's a different discussion here. But come on, like what are we smoking here at the end of the day? So if Bitcoin stays decentralized and secured and governments keep printing and stupid stuff keeps happening, guess where we're going, boys and girls? Up and to the right. End of story. There is no debate. There's literally zero debate about this. And people just are so like myopic and tunnel vision on this. Again, another hockey analogy. Like you telegraph the pass and set your guy up to get killed, right? Like a defenseman's passing the puck up the ice, like right up the middle. The forward's looking back like this and he catches a puck and whammo, the defenseman just takes him out. Well, guess what? That's most normies. That's most people, pre-coiners, no coiners. They got their head down going through the middle. Not a good place to be. As Don Sherry would say, get out of the trolley tracks, folks.
Yeah, I was going to say the tracks.
Keep your heads up. Keep your head up.
I think one of the worst things people are doing right now is they're trying to protect their dollars so they have as many as possible. And that's the worst decision you can ever make. If you have more dollars, you're actually losing. You don't have more purchasing power. You just have more dollars. It's like, let's say, for example, you're playing a video game and you get a certain number of points, and then they change the scale of the points where in the beginning, 1 point is worth $1 or something. In the future, it's worth, let's say 10 points are worth $1, then 100 points are worth $1, and 1,000 points are worth $1. That's exactly what's happening here. So in real life, your bank account's going to keep going up, and it'll keep going up forever. You'll feel like, oh, maybe I'm getting wealthier. But by the time you actually realize that the system is designed to make you feel this way, it's going to be too late. A lot of people aren't going to figure this out until they're like 70. That's the worst part. So a lot of people that I speak to, they are in their 40s, 50s. They have maybe 100,000 saved, 200,000 saved. There's the rare person who has like $500,000, $600,000 saved, but most people have like nearly nothing. And you can't retire like that. You can't become financially free like that. If you're just expecting somebody to come save you, nobody's coming to save you. If anything, people are coming to take your things from you.
Yeah,
they want everything from you. Like they're coming to take everything from you, even though they're supposed to protect you. Your purchasing power is being stolen from you, no matter what. Like think about it from a real world perspective. What did $100 buy you 20 years ago versus today? $100 is nothing today, right? You go to McDonald's, you're spending $50 for 2 people. And that's just going to keep getting worse. At some point, that'll be $500, and people will still be thinking, "Oh, I have $1 million saved. I should be able to retire," but you won't be able to. inflation will just keep getting worse and worse. It's bad now, but it'll get worse. And you're going to see, like we were talking about Bitcoin there. People say, oh, what's a loaf of bread going to be worth when Bitcoin's $1 million? Okay, well, right now a loaf of bread is what, $4 maybe. When Bitcoin goes to $1 million, a loaf of bread will go to maybe $5, because the thing is that you can mass produce bread, but you can't mass produce Bitcoin.
You can mass produce anything. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Anything. If there's enough demand for something, we can make more of it. No problem.
People find ways.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge narrative of why software stocks have fallen off, right? They declined massively as Opus got really good. Again, Claude is seems to be a reoccurring character here. Mass abundance of personal bespoke software based on AI being able to write code really well. So these moats that these companies have, it's questionable whether they will have them, if they deserve the valuations, because what they have created is not as scarce as it once was because of technology getting better. And I mean, that's the thing here, right? Is if we, regardless whether we believe this whole thing with Mythos or not, it doesn't really matter. It's clearly getting better. It's clearly getting more capable at creating things, and those things are becoming less scarce. And it's just a very harsh reminder that the only thing absolutely scarce in the digital world is Bitcoin. Everything else can be replicated and created, and there's no ability to create scarcity in the digital world outside of Bitcoin.
So I mean, when you just think about that, Forrest, like, I know, and again, I feel like I've said this the last 2 weeks, which is like, when sometimes all you need to do is just listen to Jeff Booth talk for a while, and it takes the average person a very long time to understand it, because I know that, because it took me a very long time to understand that. But when you say things like that out loud, and you're kind of at the point of understanding where this whole thing's going, you say, okay, if everything else is abundant, if there's enough people who want something, whatever that is, whether that's gold, whether that's real estate, whether that's iPhones, if enough people want that, we can make as much as we need to meet that demand for it, with everything, except for one thing, which is Bitcoin. And because of the difficulty adjustment, because of taking real physical energy from the real world, bringing it onto the internet digitally, that's the only thing that does not fall in line with that. And there's also a fixed supply of it. And you can send it, you can store it yourself without an intermediary. You can send it anywhere in the world. Wouldn't it make sense that we measure all of those other things that we can produce by that one thing that can't be produced? Isn't that like the most logical thing ever?
Somebody in the chat said, not land. So you can't produce more land. What are your thoughts on that? To me, it's like,
that's for Jacques wheelhouse. Yeah,
we have enough land.
Yeah.
Look
at Dubai, or look at
right.
Dump that sand in the ocean, boys and girls. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much land already. Like, how much more land do we need? There's so I did the calculation. Actually, I saw a post from somebody.
Going to Mars, guys. There's infinite land.
Or the moon.
Yeah.
Or the moon.
Somebody actually said there's like 1,700 acres of land on Earth per Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So how many acres of land do you own today? I don't even think I own one.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's
Yeah, and
I'm okay. I'm fine. I don't need more. How much land do you need?
Yeah. I get a couple.
A couple. I mean, that's the thing here too. Is it's sort of like comparing apples and oranges, because land is not fungible. Bitcoin is fungible. So yeah, I mean, all land is different. So yeah, there'll be valuable pieces of land. That's always been the case. There'll be less valuable pieces of land. There is a degree of scarcity, but it's not absolute. It's not quantifiable. It's a difficult thing to even compare in any way. And if you're thinking of it, like, to think of land in the same way as Bitcoin, you kind of have to think of it as like this asset that's going to appreciate. And that just really doesn't make sense when you start to think about it. Like, I'm going to buy this chunk of land that some government that may or may not fall apart will protect from other people taking it in some way, that they're giving me the rights to this land.
And
They're
you're
protecting
trusting
it.
them not to take it.
Yeah, exactly. You're trusting them not to take it. If it's very valuable land, I mean, you have to be very powerful as well to protect that in some way. You have to have some kind of influence, probably, or at least that's a way to secure it, maybe more. It just doesn't seem like it's something we obviously relate, because so many people have made a lot of their wealth, a lot of their net worth tied up in their land and their home and everything. But it's just so fundamentally different of an asset that it's not really worth comparing. I mean, it's fun to do, but when you really boil it down, it's like, oh yeah, these two things are just completely different.
That's what I was going to say, is like, I really think that land and Bitcoin are the closest two things that you compare. You know, you go back to the township, the sections, the half section, quarter sections, acres, lots, same things. Same thing's going to happen with Bitcoin. As more and more people show up, we're going to change the way we measure it so it's more relevant to where we are. But we're talking about two different things here. Even if we say that land is somewhat comparable to what Bitcoin is, just because it's scarce, that's one aspect of it. You can't send land across the world. You can't store land in your head. You can't take land on an airplane and go wherever you want to go. These are two different things. And as Forrest said, land over here is different than land over here. One sat here is one sat over here. That's what makes a good unit of measurement. So we're not comparing it. Land in the future, it will probably be the most valuable thing, but it will be measured in Satoshis. That's kind of my whole argument here. Is it's a unit of measurement. It's not an asset. I mean, it is and it isn't, but it's many things. Yeah. But you really just have to understand the dynamic of it.
Yeah, that's
yesterday.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yesterday I had to send Jor some sats. What if I had to pay him in land? How do I pay him?
Here's exactly.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Give you like a square
How do you
inch?
pay him in gold?
Yeah, how do I pay him in gold? Yeah, how do I pay him in
stock? Tokenize it. You tokenize it so you can transfer it in this
You
day
create like this dollar fiat system to tokenize it like on top of gold, and then you know,
coin.
that'd be great.
Exactly.
Schiff coin. We'll call it Schiff coin. Yeah, exactly.
What could go wrong?
And someone said this in the chat too. Like, it's, why is it priced in dollars? I mean, that's everyone's reference point. Like if this was 100 years ago, we would price things in the pound sterling or something. Like it's just like that's what everyone's reference point is, and that's what we're all used to. So that's why we do it, and it's the reserve currency at the time. So that's what makes sense. Eventually, like what these three other gentlemen are talking about, we won't. We'll be pricing everything in Satoshis. Like there's people out there who, believe it or not, price their lives in Satoshis, and I would imagine the four people you see on this video call are doing that. They price their life in Satoshis and maybe dollars, right? Because you need some reference point of where things are at. And I'm sure there's many in the chat too. So I think that's where, and I would say that's an amazing exercise that, you three guys have talked about this, at length for years now, is, pricing your life. You have to price your life in Satoshis, or else you have no reference point of where things are going. You don't know what's undervalued. You don't know what's overvalued. You have no idea because the goalpost is always changing. So, don't let the, what's happening right this second, what you've been told your whole life. Because again, how many things we've been told our whole life that were wrong, like we still don't know what happened to JFK, right? So I mean, like I could talk to you about 1,000 things, that we learned in school, or that we did this and that. We have no idea. There's no reference point because someone just told us out of their head or whatever. So use a real reference point, something that's unchanging. Like one of the guys mentioned here, right? I think it was George saying that. So that to me is the big thing, that it has all the properties of money, yes, but it's also what confuses people. It's an investment, it's a protocol, it's money, it's all these things. And eventually, like in 20, 30 years from now, or whenever this happens, it could be 5 years from now, it won't be an investment anymore. It'll just be money. It'll just be the unit of account. So, and then it ceases to kind of be that investment thing where people look at it as an investment, because you can just sit there and it accrues value, but eventually it'll just be money. And how people think of it as dollars, and dollars either will exist or won't exist. They might just be UBI, political, sludge money, cuck bucks that people use to, like, the government tries to grift. Some people are always going to be grifted by the government. Let's just be straight up, right? Like some people are always going to be grifted by the government. They're always going to like believe what the government's saying, and those people will use CBDCs, stable coins. They'll use whatever it ends up being. They'll use UBI. They'll use it through there, and then the rest of society that gets it will be using Bitcoin. And going back to the properties and the confidence, the way we all talk is because it's the homework on the system. It's backed by 20 nuclear reactors worth of energy. In its world of AI, that's where, like, bringing this whole conversation full circle. So we started with that. The threats going on everywhere. You see, it's the legacy system can't withstand the attacks of quantum. They can't withstand the attacks of just simple, Claude code. They cannot withstand it. You're seeing it all over the place. And whether it's just people losing their jobs or legacy software falling apart because of the vulnerabilities being exposed by AI, That's wild. I mean, what greater case for Bitcoin out there? And that's where people are really going to start learning some hard lessons going forward, that you need the 28 reactors of energy, nuclear reactors, in order to keep the only thing safe that's important out there.
It's a great point.
Rajat,
And I think
you're muted, Rajat.
Oh, sorry. Is that 20 nuclear reactors how much energy Bitcoin is backed by?
Yeah, that's the security of the
wow.
network. Yeah. Yep.
too bad it wasn't
know.
21.
It will be.
Soon.
It will be
Soon
soon. Yeah.
And I
Oh,
mean,
man.
we talk about UBI, we talk about things, and I think that's an important part of this to understand is like, yeah, it might happen. We might have UBI, but when that happens and the government is forced to print more money, the value of those units, UBI, dollars, whatever you want to call them, they're going to be less. They're going to be, because you're pricing them in Satoshis. And the more there is of something in Satoshis, the less it's going to cost you. Whether that's dollars, whether that's cars, whether that's real estate, the more of those things that exist, as we produce more of them, their price actually goes down in Satoshis, which is a totally different lens to look at the world through. It is very difficult. As a guy who talks about this stuff every day, it's very difficult to fully wrap your head around that. But that's part of moving from a system. We reference it all the time. It's like going from horse and buggy to cars. It's easy to say, and it's easy to like somewhat conceptualize that and grasp it, but like to fully understand what those people went through at that time in history of traveling in horseback compared to on a highway in cars, that's a huge thing. And fire, people who lived before fire versus after, these are huge things that happen in civilization that nobody can really comprehend until we get to the other side of it. And we're just not there yet.
I wanted to say, I was listening to a story about how in the past, when people would travel, let's say between different cities in the US, it would take 20 years. So let's say you're going from one place to the other. You left with one group of people, and by the time you get there, it's a totally different group of people. Everybody's aged 20 years and people have died and people have had kids. That's crazy. Today you can do the same trip and you're the exact same person. Right. And now people are complaining, oh, why can't I get there even faster? Right. And that's exactly what happens.
Yep.
Technology improves. But again, the thing is that nothing can increase the supply of Bitcoin. Nothing can improve the supply of Bitcoin. The supply of Bitcoin will always be exactly the same no matter what. That's what we want you guys to really understand here. That's the key. Everything can be improved. Technology can, security can be improved. The abilities to hack a website can be improved, but nobody can increase the supply of Bitcoin.
And make sure, if you do nothing else, understand why that is. Because once you understand why that is, it changes the way you look at everything. So when you have a fixed amount of things, then again, we titled the show Bitcoin is 75K. Yeah, it's cool. It makes us feel good. It's good for our egos. Our purchasing power, I guess, has gone up, in the last day. But like, we're still measuring in a fiat system with unlimited amounts. We have no idea what they are. It's impossible to really value anything in the US dollar just because of that. So I don't know. It's going to be a rocky road to the other side of it to get to the traveling on a Model T car. But, we're going to get there. We're going to do it. We're the guys right now in front of the cars, or in front of the cars flagging, letting them know that these aren't a horse anymore. This is a car. That's what we're doing right now.
We definitely need those today.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely do.
Well,
Scratch on a tear.
What do you
Sailor on a
want to get
tear.
into next? Sorry, Brandon.
I rug pulled this earlier. Well, Sailor, just keeps buying, just keeps running people over, stealing everyone that's capitulating in the chat right now. Everyone that's screaming and crying hasn't studied Bitcoin yet. You're missing your chance. You're missing your chance. I mean, this is Sailor's. He's going to buy all your Bitcoin. And if someone said like, well, where's he getting all his Bitcoin? It's like, well, he's getting it from the people that are selling, that haven't put in their time and done the homework and studied this. It's just wild.
In a day.
It's just, it's crazy. And Schiff, someone mentioned Schiff too, and they said they were studying Schiff, and Schiff, Peter Schiff is, and we mentioned him earlier. Peter Schiff is a very smart guy. Unfortunately, he knows so much that isn't so, as the old saying goes. And it's very easy as a Bitcoiner, when you listen to someone for, I'd say 30 seconds to a minute, right? Maybe max, You can tell just by the words someone uses, do they understand what they're talking about or not? And that's if you're an expert yourself. Otherwise, if you're not an expert, you tend to get Gell-Mann amnesia, and you think, hey, if this person says they're an expert and then they're talking, but you have no idea what they're talking about, you just kind of take it as gospel. It's just like human nature, and that's Gell-Mann amnesia. So we do that a lot in media and politics. That's why they put every under title, they say experts say, oh, the sea level is rising, whatever experts say, it's just like, it's a clickbait title to get people, they know that people's brain just like accepts a lot of it immediately because they're not an expert in climate science, or they're not an expert in Bitcoin. They're not an expert. That's why they say, oh, Bitcoiners are psychopaths. Oh, Bitcoin could crash. Bitcoin's a Ponzi. Bitcoin boils the oceans. Bitcoin, it's all these things. And look, it's a 4-letter word 17 years later. It just keeps growing. The fundamentals of the network, the hash rate, the security of it just keep growing. Everything keeps getting stronger and better. So those that need to know. If you know, you know. But, you get at the price you deserve. And, it sucks saying that, but it's also true. And so people who are going to fight it, the ego, the pride, the hubris, Peter Schiff being probably the most public example of that, and just not being able to put his ego aside. It's blatantly obvious. And when you hear him talk about Bitcoin, and then he says something that totally rug pulls what he's saying, like, well, they're just gonna, print some more, Satoshi's gonna like backdoor it or something like that. And so like, he sounds very smart, is very sinister, because he's very smart in the legacy system, the plumbing of the old system, history, things of that nature. But he is blinded, unfortunately, by fiat, which is really the gold and silver market, which is paper. It's all really done on paper. Now there's no one, we're not final settlement through gold and silver. And he runs a paper fund. He runs Euro Pacific Fund. So he's a paper guy. And so if he's over here talking Bitcoin and really grokking Bitcoin and putting in the 1,000 hours of work, then he's rug pulling himself, and he's blinded by those incentives. And that's where it's very difficult. And this was me 5 or 10 years ago too. Like, and I've tried to tell this story too, of like, I was that guy too 10 or 15 years ago with gold and silver and real estate. I come from those worlds, but you cannot see the Titanic sinking when you're on the Titanic. I mean, it's the analogy I use all the time. Only when you get on the lifeboat and start moving away can you see, oh my gosh, we did hit an iceberg, or there was something that struck it. We don't know what, looking at you, JP Morgan, and this thing's going down. And that's, you cannot see it. It is impossible. Someone mentioned this earlier too, so it made me think of this. You can't see it from the current financial system we're in. It's literally impossible. And so only when you back away, get on the life raft of Bitcoin, really, get into self-custody, start understanding what's happening, then can you see the scales falling from your eyes, and you can actually see the thing is starting to list. People are reading their newspaper clippings on the thing. Well, it can't sink. The US dollar network can't sink. It's impossible, guys. We price everything in dollars. What do you mean? That you're insane, and you're jumping off on a life raft right now. People are voting for a new captain after the explosion happened. Well, that's like politics at this point. And then people are trying to jump into gold, and they're trying to jump into stocks, and that's just like shuffling deck chairs. I mean, that's like, what are you gonna do? You're still gonna be 12,000 feet under. And so that's the world we're living in. Ego, pride, and hubris.
Yeah. And I mean, anybody who promotes the idea of tokenized gold, you should question every other thing they say, because it's fundamentally flawed concept. It goes against the idea of owning gold. It's like, the reason to own gold is to have some level of sovereignty and ownership over your assets.
Mind-blowing.
And tokenizing it is not that. It's ridiculous.
In the podcast so he did a debate with Robert Breedlove, and he was saying how tokenized gold is not an IOU. It just represents gold. And Robert was like, no, sorry, it wasn't Robert Breedlove. It was Mark Moss. He's like, Mark Moss was like, but that's what an IOU is. It's
a representation.
Right. You don't have the thing. And he just couldn't grasp that concept. It's like, if somebody, like, if, let's say, for example, if you were to try to describe the internet to somebody 4,000 years ago, like, how would you even get to that point? That's where he is right now. Right? He just doesn't get it. He doesn't even understand what counterparty risk is. He doesn't understand that gold tokens have counterparty risk. So there's...
Yeah, and it's probably like self-serving, right? Maybe he does understand all of these, but as Brandon pointed out, he benefits from paper gold. He has a paper gold fund. This is his business, and he's benefiting from us talking about him right now because of his relation to Bitcoin. In my opinion, this guy is a marketing genius.
Yeah, genius.
He is going to get everyone who loves gold and hates Bitcoin is going to be a huge Peter Schiff fan. And there's a lot of those people out there, and they're going to support his business in some way. And that's why he's so relevant today. I mean, and Brandon, you said, and I agree, he's got great takes. There's some old speeches and lectures he's done, some stuff from the Occupy era.
Oh yeah, legend.
That's great. It's awesome. But he is totally just milking his connection to Bitcoin. I mean, he's invited to Bitcoin conferences. It's insane, and it's all just to enrich himself, in my opinion.
Yep. That's why I think that's part of it. I never answer him online. Like I never hate talking about him, but people are bringing him up. So
I did it for the cufflinks.
Yeah.
The thing with Peter is like, I think that in this world that we're moving into now, we're really going to notice the difference between something that's fake and something that's real. And gold is still real. So like Peter's going to do fine. And I think Peter also knows that the majority of his audience will never hold their own keys to Bitcoin. Like it's the reality of things. As much as we say it's very easy to do, it's just a different generation of people. They don't trust things that they can't hold. They just don't understand it. They're so far away from it. So, you know, I hate to say it, but if I was in Peter's position, I don't know how much I would change either. Like what would it benefit Peter right now to come out and say, hey, I've been wrong about gold for this amount of years. Bitcoin's a way to go. Sorry, everybody. I've been misleading you for the last 10 years. I'm an idiot. You guys were right. You're smart. I'm dumb. You're good looking. I'm not very attractive. Like, what's he supposed to come out and say here?
It's quite a hole to dig himself out of. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, but he also, like you guys mentioned there, he also benefits from like the whole debate because it's making his audience grow. He's getting more energy, and that's what all these people want. So, I mean, I get it from Schiff's standpoint. I really think that deep down Schiff knows that he's wrong.
He probably owns Bitcoin. Let's be real. Someone said in chat too. He probably does. I mean,
how would we know?
He's not a dumb guy.
His wife
just is a great marketer.
His
wife's a great marketer.
His son does too. His son has like some large Bitcoin, public Bitcoin thing, I believe.
But here's the thing too, is like, if that's the case, he has a bunch of gold. He's great. He has some Bitcoin. He's great. His family has Bitcoin. They're great. Peter, to me, even though he's a shyster, he's a very smart guy. But it's not like he's out here pumping up like XRP or Solana that are clearly just like thin air shit, right? Like gold's something real. Like it's going to have some value in this new world, even though it's going to significantly underperform Bitcoin. It's still going to have value. So nobody's going to be too mad at Peter Schiff at the end of this. I don't think anyways. It's not like he's misleading his customer base into something that's worth nothing. Gold is still worth something. It's just not what Bitcoin is. And, you know, it just doesn't really make sense for him to change his stance at this point.
Yeah, you can't make a necklace out of Bitcoin. He's going to be rich if everybody wants gold necklaces. Because I don't know. It's my theory that a lot of things are going to get demonetized, and the vast majority of gold's value is its monetization, right? It's been monetized by central banks and individuals around the world who believe in the history of it, and they've been proved right. It does hold its value. It's in certain time frames, it's outperformed these productive assets like S&P 500, which is the 500 best companies in the best stock market of the world, right? So people that have been gold holders have been right about their thesis. They're just wrong that it deserves to be monetized into the future. It deserves to have been monetized in the past, and it simply just does not work. I mean, this is part of the thesis of Broken Money, Lynn Alden's book, where she said as soon as the telegraph was invented, information could travel faster than settlement, and gold no longer worked. And paper gold was the only way to transfer ownership of assets to make deals when information could travel so fast as a telegraph. And now think about how fast information travels, and think about how much throughput there is in something like Lightning, and how much finality there is in the final settlement of a massive decentralized ledger like Bitcoin on chain, right? Which does, again, it's not even, I mean, we've mentioned XRP and these other things a couple times, but they're not even worth mentioning because you're settling nothing with that. You're settling a decentralized and name only centralized ledger that can be corrupted, manipulated, and ultimately doesn't have any real value behind it because it is not secure and final.
Yeah.
So I guess
That's,
Sailor's going to get all the Bitcoin.
There it is, everyone's screaming and crying. This, I mean, it's like, it's mind blowing because, everyone knows intellectually that you buy low and you sell high, and it's just like, but no one can seem to do it, like this goes back to like the whole thing earlier, like, why do we price Bitcoin in dollars? And it's because humans are emotional. We're not rational. Like if we were rational, logical beings, we use that part of our brain first, then in 2010, once Laszlo had initiated this price, the first transaction with the pizzas, then everyone would have got it. Within the next couple of months, it would have been like, boom, yes, let's go. Need it. We don't have this fiat garbage they're printing right on the backs of the GFC, all the massive printing, in the UK, Chancellor on the brink of a second bailout, here in America as well. And look, we're 17 years later and we're still fighting, still talking about the same. Okay, I'm gonna be nice here because we all come to at different times, because I can feel myself ratcheting up here very quickly. It's the same. I mean, we have AI now, guys. Like, go in, do your homework, go ask all the questions you could possibly have to the AI. Like we're in an energy world. I truly believe, again, this is not an IQ test. This is an ego and humility test. Pure and simple. There's no getting around that. No amount of arguing could ever change my mind about that. It's purely pride and hubris. We go back to the Schiff stuff, not to bring him back up again, but everyone you talk to, it's constantly people getting in their own way. We all had to do this. None of us here, the four of us here, were not the first people in Bitcoin. We had to put our ego aside and say, yes, I am not the first person here. I will not have 1,000 Bitcoin. I will not have 10,000 Bitcoin, but it's okay because there's a greater mission. There's a greater purpose. It's the most secure network. It's the best money humans have ever seen. It can do the greatest good for humanity. And that's something worth fighting for. And that's where the will of the people has just been broken. There's so many people it's completely broken across society. And I'll be damned. Like, I'll live in a cardboard box and go out fighting for honest money.
Amen.
And so we don't have to be doing this bullshit again. And that's to me what it's all about. And that's the difference between many Bitcoiners and all the other people out there, all the fiat maxis and the fiat maxers and the fiat apologists and the gold guys and the NFT crypto bros, XRP guys, XLM, whatever, ADA. They're there for more fiat. They're there for more of the same system. And I'm tired of it. Like it's people that are scared of the future. They're just completely scared of the future. They're scared of their own shadow. And Bitcoin is there, the truth just ticking away every 10 minutes. And people, it's the ego that keeps you from doing the work. Then it's putting it aside and saying, yes, you know what? I'm not the first person here. You're still extremely early. That's what's really sinister. You're still extremely early. And yet you still won't put your ego aside. It's time to look in the mirror.
Yeah. The ego's the big one, man. Like there's like everybody here in the chat has exposure to Bitcoin, likely, like 90% of the people here probably have some Bitcoin. I bring up Bitcoin in, a friend circle or something like that. Somebody asked me what I do, whatever. Everyone I talk to about Bitcoin, the first thing they say is, oh, I could have bought that when it was $3,000. I first heard about it when it was this. Who cares? Everybody has that story. Everybody has that story. Everyone. I was 2014 messing around with a Bitcoin ATM at a restaurant. I didn't buy any Bitcoin then because I didn't know what the hell it was. You didn't know what it was when it was $3,000. You're not going to buy it. You got to know what it is and then put your ego aside that you didn't buy it when it was $3,000 or less or whatever, and get yourself some Bitcoin. Like it's that simple. And it's definitely an ego thing for the vast majority of people. Like that's the sort of the first hurdle is the ego thing. And then there is a knowledge component without a doubt. And then there's just an action component of like getting over fear, getting over laziness, and understanding that you have to own some of this.
I actually spoke with someone yesterday whose father-in-law is a financial advisor. No, sorry, it was his friend. It was a family friend who was a financial advisor, and he didn't want to buy Bitcoin because he was worried about offending his friend, his family friend.
Yeah.
He's like, I can't buy it because I just can't have that conversation with him because he's told me that Bitcoin's a scam, and I don't want to go through and ask him why he thinks it's a scam because he's going to get disappointed in me. Like you're just already setting yourself up for failure before you even started.
That's what I was going to say. Like the other part of like layering on top of this is like having a set of balls.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Raise the T. I mean,
Like I saw Cold Deck in the chat here said, my brother-in-law literally said, I'll buy Bitcoin when the government says it's okay. Like, talk about missing the plot here. Oh my God.
oh my gosh.
That's so funny.
Read The Sovereign Individual. I mean, it's wild. Like we live, I mean, the four of us, we live in the Americas, right? The Revolutionary War was fought here. All these the British, came over and they're like, no, we're not doing this, and they met him on the greens there in Concord in Lexington. We're like, nope, not doing it. And at some point, you got to just draw the line and say, you got to be a man. You just got to grow a pair between your legs and be like, yeah, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not in this system. And that's, it just goes back to the ego, the pride, and the hubris, and someone in the chat was bringing up, XRP. And my point with XRP and some of these other things we're talking about is, again, similar to ego and hubris. Sometimes as humans, we make things too complicated when most things are very simple, right? So a very simple example would be like with XRP, the market share that a lot of the other alts are proposing to take are very small market shares. You're talking like Visa, MasterCard. I'm trying to do international payments. Well, we already have people doing stuff like that. We're already good there. But even if you were saying, hey, I'm going to take that over, what's the market share that you might take? 1 trillion, 5 trillion, 10 trillion? Well, Bitcoin is trying to take over all 900 trillion, account for every asset, every dollar in the world when dollars don't exist, which someone else also mentioned. When dollars don't exist, you'll denominate that world in sats. Your house will be an X number of sats. All these things will be denominated in sats. That's a big market share. It's called a level 10 vehicle. Like in marketing, you're in business, you want to go into a business in a level 10 business. You don't want to go into like, hey, I'm selling ice cream up at the North Pole. That's a level 1 business. That not very good, right? So you want to get yourself in a vehicle that has the greatest runway. And so all these little nuances just come over time. I mean, for me personally, it's like I've been doing this for 20 or 30 years, thinking about these things, studying these things, being in business and doing this. And it's what's easy to do is easy not to do. So all these little things, like again, the alts. Why would a billionaire, let alone me, who I think about this stuff, right? Not a billionaire, but a billionaire, why would a Michael Saylor or someone else store their time and energy in an asset or some NFT or some other altcoin protocol that has way less, a fraction of the security as Bitcoin? Bitcoin, we said, has 20 nuclear reactors of security to the network, the greatest computer network, the hardest computer network ever to exist. Why would I, as a billionaire, then go take my time and energy and say, you know what, I'm going to go over here to this protocol that doesn't have anywhere near the security to do that? Like, that's the part where, like, again, humans, we try to overcomplicate it. Our 12 years of government run schooling, we think we need to like read a bunch of textbooks and like be super, high IQ to do. No. It's see the forest from the trees, back away, very simple answers to these questions. Lindy effect, very right there too, right? Bitcoin's been running. It's been in the lead for 17 years. It has the strongest properties. There's a reason why. It has the brand. It has first mover advantage. These things are very simple, but people overcomplicate it and think, well, there's got to be some like, MySpace, Facebook, some new things going to come along. And it's like, well, yeah, but if you're the exact same as exact same as Bitcoin, why would I then go move from the hard network to the same code over here that has no security? These are these things that we just get in the way of these things. And it's just combating FUD over and over, which is, again, what we're here to do. But, I appreciate the patience, boys. I'm on one today. I didn't think I was. I was tired. I went to bed like 3 a.m, working, playing with Claude, talking to it, and I was tired. But man, I'm ready to go though. Jeez.
I like when you get heated, Brendan.
Yeah.
Like
the
I feel like I'm playing hockey.
Jeez, drop all these history lessons that I haven't learned yet. Oh man, it's so great. I love it.
The answer there, though, like if a billionaire is trying to move you, like convince you that some other network is the way to go, the reason they're doing that is they're either completely ignorant of the technology they're talking about, or more likely they're probably malicious. Yeah. And they're actually trying to scam you through this thing through hype, right? Like you can look at Jason Calacanis with Tau, you can look at Tom Lee with
the Zcash stuff.
Yeah. You can, Arthur Hayes with Zcash. It's all fiat games. All of that is fiat games because they know, or I'm assuming they know, they've been in this long enough, about protocol dominance. This is what you're basically explaining there with Bitcoin having the strongest, most secure, most simple network, most robust, most battle tested, most anti-fragile. And that's what you can build on, right? This is the concrete foundation, the bedrock that you can build skyscrapers on top of. Yes. The rest is sticks and stones in sand, right? You're not going to build a skyscraper on a tropical sand beach because it will fall down if you try. Well said. And that's what these people are trying to do. They're trying to, say, oh, we're going to be Visa. Trust our centralized ledger instead of Visa's. Well, why would Visa do that? They're just going to do it themselves. There might be some partner there, but where does the value accrue?
Yes.
They're to compete, to stay competitive, they have to print more tokens so that everyone can access them, so they can do transactions really fast, and security doesn't really matter, and decentralization completely doesn't matter. And so again, where does the value accrue to any of these things? It accrues to the insiders, it accrues to the pre-mined, and it does not accrue to you and me. And that's the difference with Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is the unit. Bitcoin is, right, it's that meme. It's like Bitcoin is what backs everything else, right?
Yep.
And that's where the value accrues. And what MSTR is doing with STRC and then buying all the Bitcoin, and the value accrues to Bitcoin, right? You can get complicated. You can try to do derivatives, all this kind of stuff. Ultimately, 99% of people are going to be better off just holding Bitcoin, and you'll benefit from everything else. All the other growth everywhere. Bitcoin will be the benefactor of that. That's my opinion.
One thing that I don't know if you guys remember this, but not too long ago, Zcash was just going crazy.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that? Do you guys remember everybody
when was
saying,
it, like 6 months ago? Or?
That was like
Yeah.
6 months ago,
Something like that. Yeah.
They're like, oh, buy Zcash. It's private money. It's privacy. It's privacy. Why are you telling everybody that you own Zcash if you want privacy? Like that.
Can't make
That's
this
the
stuff up.
stupidest thing ever. Like there's this guy, Arthur Hayes. Arthur, I think one of you guys mentioned him before.
I mentioned him, yeah.
He's constantly talking about Zcash. And one day I asked him, hey, haven't you had Bitcoin since like over a decade ago? Aren't you like a billionaire? Why the hell do you need to scam people with more altcoins?
Yep.
And he replied, well, why wouldn't you want more if you can get it? Like that's the way that they think.
Yeah.
They don't care about you. They don't care about whether or not you are the one who's benefiting from the coin. They just want your money.
Yep.
And you have to be stupid to give it to them. Like straight up, you have to be stupid to give it to them.
Yeah. And that's where people have a problem too with like capitalism. Like capitalism is like, there generally aren't, we'll say as many guardrails at times, or, or more or less at times, but people, I had a conversation the other day, with Michael Green, and we actually got in this same kind of debate, because we went back and forth, and he caught me, I think I was saying this the other day, but he caught me really flat footed, because I just wasn't planning on debating him. And like the middle of the interview, we just like got into it, like going back and forth. And I was, again, hockey analogy, but I was caught flat footed a couple times. So I kind of looked like an idiot, but kind of recovered, got up, dusted myself off, and we kept going. And but we kept getting into this thing of, like, well, we got to educate people. Like, well, the dollar's doing, it's fine. Like, dollar's money, Brandon. Like, it's totally fine. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you need to educate yourself more. So to like this Arthur Hayes point, you shouldn't be that dumb to fall for his stuff, Rajat, like that type of mentality. And so like the problem is we're fighting for a greater good of people, where you have a lot of these people where they're using the benefits of the system. You can get to the Michael Saylor. I've seen some people in the Michael Saylor chat. I know like Brian or Matteo Pellegrini, who runs Club Orange. He's like, Saylor should have to sell his yacht in order to get Bitcoin. Like, this is bullshit that he can just use the the fiat system to raise a bunch of debt and then go buy Bitcoin with it. So like, you have like people all across the spectrum that, like a Michael Green, he's like, well, you should educate yourself more. That's capitalism. Like, get better. Capitalism harder. Like, be stronger. And it's like, okay, like I get that. Like, I am capitalistic, and like that is my nature, and like I believe in that. But you can't have a system of capitalism built on quicksand, like Forrest mentioned earlier. That is fiat. Fiat currencies are that quicksand, and you're building your economic system on top of that. And it's impossible. People scream for socialism and communism later on because they're conflating the two. The system falls into the quicksand, and then they're like, I don't know what the hell is going on, and I'm losing my mind. Now I'm voting for other people's things because I don't know what's going on with my own life, which is a very natural feeling for anyone to feel. And so it's like two ships passing in the night, at least from my vantage point, where you have all these smart people, a lot of people making great points on both sides, quite honestly, but like people just totally conflating things. They're arguing different systems. They're arguing different time horizons, which I've seen in the chat here as well, right? Like you three guys have talked about this a lot too. Different time horizons of, the stretch debates where like older generation might like that. The younger generation is like, why the hell would I buy that? Like all of these things. So it's like, we all come together and we're trying to like talk with each other, but we're all come with our own preconceived notions, all our own experiences, all our own relativity and our time horizon, and it just gobbles everything up into like gobbledygook, and it's just like, it's the craziest thing, man.
It really is. And I think I see a couple comments in the chat here. Somebody said, when are we going to centralize this chat? I mean, right now, no better time than right now. So I'd say whatever you're watching this on, if it's mine, Rajat, Forrest, Brandon, head over. I just
Get
shared
off.
the link to the
Go
BTC
to-
Mastermind one. Let's all just hang out together.
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that, Brandon.
Yeah, we
It's
need
like get off and go to the mastermind. Yep.
we need
channel.
decentralized Bitcoin, but we need centralized chat.
Yes.
Yep.
Everybody's hanging out. And it's funny, you know, I had a lot of time on my hands this weekend watching the Masters, a lot of couch time, a lot of pacing around, cheering on my favorite golfer, the Bread and Circus there. But I had some time to fight with some people online on X. And I was talking about, I won't mention the coin or the token, whatever you want to call it, that I was arguing with. But that was kind of my main takeaway too. It's like, these guys are so close, but they're just overthinking it. They're overthinking everything. They've understood Bitcoin. They understand fiat's broken, but they're kind of what you mentioned there, Brandon, is like their timeline's off. It might be a problem today, but they're playing out this hypothetical issue about the future, but they're also assuming that nothing's going to be fixed between then and now. So the main issue that they're trying to solve is that they think that the mainnet can't scale, Lightning's too centralized, there's no other options, and so we need to just shift everything that we have here in Bitcoin and take it somewhere else, which doesn't make any sense, right? You have the most intelligent people, the best minds, increasing amounts of capital coming into this network. We're going to figure this thing out, but people just overthink it, and that kind of what the whole conversation here has been about is like, keep it simple. Just keep it simple. Bitcoin is amazingly simple. It's very complex in a lot of ins and outs of it, but overall, it's a very simple concept. It's a peer-to-peer electronic cash. And it's a lot of different things to a lot of different people on a lot of different timelines. But Bitcoin is the thing. It's is it the Schelling point where everybody just kind of like knows that this is where it's going to go? You don't need to tell people. It's just that it makes the most sense. But people are getting caught up in the weeds and overthinking and overanalyzing. And it's going to be their downfall. And that's the shittiest part for me, is like they're so close to it. They're overthinking it, and it's so simple, and it's Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So that group of people that you're mentioning, something that they say is, oh, Bitcoin on Lightning isn't Bitcoin, and you should buy my shitcoin because Bitcoin on Lightning isn't Bitcoin. That's their marketing, and people fall for it. They're like,
Lots of
oh
people
yeah,
fall for it.
Since Bitcoin on Lightning isn't Bitcoin, I'm not even gonna get Bitcoin on the main chain. Like, it's just at this
And
point,
Bitcoin is Bitcoin too. Like that's the greatest
Right.
part. It's like
Yes,
it's escrowed in the you can't make this stuff up.
it's like saying
Gosh,
that
you can't.
dollars being spent on Visa aren't dollars. Like,
Just-
do they change into some other currency or something like
Wild.
that? That's not how it works. It's just
I-
a way to move your Bitcoin.
I think a lot of people in crypto have been psyoped by the what is that triangle thing? The
trilemma.
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 the trilemma.
Yeah.
It's a psyop. These things are not equal. Speed, decentralization, security, these are all different components with different value.
Yeah.
Decentralization, security, much more important than speed. Speed can be built on top of things. And
That's a great way to
That's-
say it, Forrest.
yeah, they're not on
Yeah.
equal footing. So
They're not equal footing. You're right. Because you're right. In a triangle, it looks like they're on equal footing, right? It's like, oh, they're just, you pick two of the three, right? But that's, wow,
Exactly.
I've never thought of it that way. I've talked about it a million times, but never thought of it to explain it to someone in the sense of, hey, it's not the same playing field. These are different. Oh, wow. Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, so it's like a
Interesting.
lot of people will, because of that, they think, oh, well, Bitcoin's too slow. It's 7 transactions per second or whatever it is. It's just like, no, we actually have a way to put it, in my opinion, is humans onboarded per hour onto Lightning is the actual throughput that we have as an issue as Bitcoiners, because the Lightning network is confined by the Bitcoin allocated on it, and it is it's its own network with basically everybody pointing guns at each other. Hey, don't cheat me. If you cheat me, I get your Bitcoin, and it's real Bitcoin at the end of the day because it can all be settled on chain. And so it's an absolutely amazing system, and it has its limitations. But guess what? Each one of those limitations is going to be fixed by additional layers, right? And we can see what ARK has already done, right? How easy is it to take self-custody Lightning using Wallet of Satoshi now? And that's because of VTXOs, which are another clever way of having ownership over Bitcoin on the Lightning network. It all speaks the language of Lightning, which speaks the language of Bitcoin. It's the way that the internet is built too, right? TCP/IP. is so simple, dead stupid. We could not do what we're doing right now unless additional layers were built on top of it. And this is the dominance. Like it's like thinking, okay, Bitcoin doesn't have privacy on chain. Zcash does, right? I can have my shielded transactions. I need to move over to this entirely different protocol that doesn't speak Bitcoin's language. It speaks its own language. And that's going to dominate somehow, even though its market cap is nothing and it's a bunch of scammers, bunch of pre-mines, so many issues, right? Or we develop privacy on a layer, or we develop privacy eventually at some intelligent way as technology, as we get better at building things onto Bitcoin in a way that actually works for the individual spending. Yeah, so it's a no-brainer, right? And this all kind of goes back to Andreas Antonopoulos' one speech there where he talks about how Bitcoin is the next Bitcoin. Everything that any innovation in crypto will eventually migrate to Bitcoin on some layer. And just because it hasn't happened today doesn't mean that it won't happen tomorrow. And people are way too impatient because we have such a limited time in our own lives. We think these things aren't going to happen. Bitcoin is not money because you can't go spend it at the store. It's 16 years old. It's going to take way longer, guys. It's going to take way longer for everything that we talked about to become actualized. And it's just, do you have the patience? Do you believe in this enough? Do you think that it's likely? And I actually think, like, people talk about Bitcoin being speculative, and I actually do think it is speculative, right? I'm speculating into the future that these things will become actualized and Bitcoin will be a more usable alternate monetary network. And it's already highly usable, in my opinion. And my speculation is that it will increase in technology, in infrastructure, and in network. And that's the bet that I'm making as an individual.
I mean, if you think about it, everything is speculation, right?
Yes.
Bitcoin is probably the least speculative because we know how much supply there's going to be. With everything else, we have no idea.
Well, anytime you're thinking into the future, you're speculating. Like,
literally.
Yeah.
I'm speculating if I make it to the grocery store. Yeah, like
But that's right.
Exactly.
What are we doing?
That's what I mean, though, right? With Bitcoin, we know that there's going to be 21 million Bitcoin into the future, and there's nothing that can change that. We know that that's going to be the case. Whereas, like, let's say gold. We have no idea how much gold will exist. We have no idea whether there'll be some kind of technology to improve the supply, increase the supply of gold. Whereas with Bitcoin, we know that there's no way to change that. So so even real estate is speculative. People say, "Oh, we can live in houses. We need to live in houses and all that." But now people are living in cars. Like you have a channel on van life. That's wild. Like, people don't need your house anymore. They can live in their cars. They like Teslas. People are constantly living in Teslas because they have so much space in them. Like, okay, you need a house that you want to store your house. So you want to store your stuff in a house. That's perfectly fine. But that house can be replaced. Whereas Bitcoin can't. Nothing can replace Bitcoin. Nothing can work the same way as Bitcoin.
And there's probably going to be other things that come up through the years. Like, we're talking about one example here. And I think they get really caught up in assuming that Bitcoiners think that Bitcoin is perfect. I don't think that that's the case at all. I think it's by far the best option we have. And humans want efficiency. They want to be as convenient as possible. We really see that in today's day and age. But like, I think people have the inability to really play things out past like one or two steps. Is like, if they have a proposal to become a medium of exchange, then you're going to store your value in this part and then swap it over to make payment in this part. That doesn't even make sense. So when you think about it that way, it's like, okay, going back to the start of this conversation today, Bitcoin makes the most sense to become the next unit of account for the world. It's a global asset. It's a fixed supply. AI can't make more of it. There's so many of these characteristics that make Bitcoin the best unit of measurement. So how would it make sense to go from that network over to somebody else, jump, swap, pay whoever's accepting it, and leave? And it actually might play out that way, where there's different options for that. Like, Dogecoin might be accepted by certain businesses because they like Dogecoin. They have, that's one that they've always wanted, the community there. They love that. Or it might be a different coin, but it's all going back to the unit of measurement here, which will be priced in sats. And why wouldn't you want to own the foundation versus the things built on top of that? And I'm not saying Lightning's like something built on top of that. Lightning is Bitcoin. They're the same thing. You can get into the weeds of it, of course, but it's still Bitcoin. if Forrest owed me money right now, I said, you can send me 200,000 sats. He sent that to me on Lightning. I'm not like, oh shit, I wish I had Bitcoin instead. It's Bitcoin. Like people are just overthinking the whole thing, right? It's the whole point of today is like unit of measurement. Everything else, including every other token, is going to be measured in Bitcoin. Keep it as simple as possible. Get your shit offline, and you're going to be good. And just sit back and relax, because things are chaotic enough. You don't have to make it more complicated than it already is.
If you think about the way the world works right now with currencies, right? A bunch of nations have their own currency.
Exactly.
And when you go there, you exchange US dollars for that currency, right? It's denominated in USD, most likely. If you bring Canadian dollars to, some country somewhere, they're going to look at that like that's monopoly money, right? They're not going to know what the hell that is.
They don't even entertain it.
You could bring Canadian Tire money to them and they wouldn't know any difference, right? So, but there's sort of a reason that they have their own currency, right? And it's for fiat extraction on their own population, and some sort of semblance of central bank control and nationalistic kind of ideas and things like that too. But there's less game theory to suggest that some country, right? There's not going to be Doge land that all just has Doge, unless it's like all the insiders all move there, right? They all take over a little island somewhere, maybe. Now they have an incentive because they have a bunch of it. They want to spend it. They want to accept it. They want to grow their own network within there. So it's difficult to like play out game theory of suggesting that there will be a bunch of different currencies, but it is possible. But there's going to be like selfish reasons for somebody else wanting to use or accept a different currency rather than Bitcoin. And it'll be from the same concepts of fiat, right? Pre-mined and insider allocation.
Yep.
Like that's the reason why fiat exists, is pre-mined and insider centralization.
Yep, and it's all emanates from us. Again, it's this mindset. We let the governments do it. Like money was here before nation states, and it'll be here after nation states. Again, these are things that people just don't realize. Like they, like the comment earlier of, well, I'll do it when the government says I can't. I mean, what are you waiting for? But that's like school. Again, government-run school has taught us to comply. We don't ask questions. When can I go to the bathroom? Put my hand up. When can I go on vacation? Hey, when can I leave school? When do I go to the next class? And it's just bell rings and you're trained through that, audible tone of like bell ringing. Okay, like I'm off. That's how, we're just a bunch of little financial slaves in a cage. That's, look, you're born with the birth certificate in America and a social security number. I'm sure it's a similar thing in Canada. And that's the debt. You go to the usdebtclock.org, you look at it, and debt per taxpayer, debt per citizen right there. That's how they stick the debt right on you. You're in a financial cage right when you're born. And so that's how they perpetuate the Ponzi scheme over time. And if you like that, if you're cool with that, then sure, XRP it up, Ethereum up, gold and silver it up, baby. I mean, like we've been down these paths. We've tried these things, keep using your fiat. That's the world we've been in. And if that's cool with you, you like what you see around you, then hey, God bless, by all means, you can go at it. But I just see a much different life going forward, where incentives are completely flipped on their head and remaking the architecture of the system, reorienting people so consumers and producers on the same side of the table. And the government is naturally defunded over time, which is great for the people in government, because then they don't feel like they have to go to the government and only follow the Nancy Pelosi stock trader in order to get ahead in life. Like they can actually go be productive in society. They can go spend more time with their families, whatever it might be. It's a beautiful thing, because the natural incentives will heal all the different things. They'll flow down like a waterfall down the river, and you can't have the good society, honest society, from dishonest money, like we've mentioned multiple times. And it just goes back to the nature of things, the mindset of humans overcomplicating, and people not wanting to put in the work. Simple as that.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like the world sucks right now. Like everything's super expensive. Like everybody I know, like I don't know super wealthy people, but everybody I know, there's some point in a conversation where they'll complain about the cost of living. They'll say, oh, I had to buy this thing and it was way more expensive, or housing's really expensive, gas is really expensive. Maybe it's like a cathartic, like trying to connect to other people, but it's like, why is that a common ground we have? Why is everybody complaining about the cost of living? Why is everything getting expensive? Of course, we know the answers to that, right? It's fiat printing. It's the cost of living goes up as the money supply goes up, because it takes more dollars to get the same amount of goods. But nobody else knows that. Everybody is just struggling. Like people are struggling out there. And so it's crazy to me when people start saying Bitcoin is bad, Bitcoin's a scam, don't buy Bitcoin. It's like, you are resisting what will save you, what will actually help humanity. Like, if you're against Bitcoin, you are against humanity, whether you know it or not. You actually want a worse future for people. Of course, that's putting it very bluntly, and I'm sure they don't realize that, but it's their ignorance that makes them not realize that. So, yeah, I mean, Bitcoin is hope. Bitcoin is hope for the future, that we will, that things will get more affordable over time, that we will benefit from the abundance and prosperity of human nature to develop better technology and become deflationary. That's what Bitcoin is to me. Bitcoin is hope.
Yep. Bitcoin is hope. Hope.com. Speaking of hope.com, what do we think? What's going to play out here? What's Saylor going to get to in Bitcoin? I know people don't like talking about it, but it is, I think, something to think about, because like, I don't think his goal here is just, I was going to say to get as much Bitcoin as possible, but that is kind of his goal. Where does this go? Like what comes next here for somebody with 1 million Bitcoin, assuming that Bitcoin's going to go to million, then 10 million, then 100 million, then 1 billion, then 10 billion. What the hell happens? Like, what the hell happens? And it's funny because Strategy is obviously a corporation that you can invest in. The United States, Canada are corporations that you can't invest in. They're the same thing though. But what happens here? Like, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Where are you guys sitting with this right now? Because it sure seems to me like a lot of people out there kind of have their thumbs up their butts and they're losing all this Bitcoin. But I also think that Bitcoiners, in my opinion anyways, don't really appreciate what's happening right now. Whether you think Saylor's going to do good or bad with this Bitcoin, the reality is that these Bitcoin are being taken off the market, which as demand grows for this Bitcoin thing, the prices of these sats are going to continuously go up regardless of how much money they print. That doesn't matter too much, but there's more demand chasing a smaller amount of units here, which are called Satoshis. So he's taken Bitcoin, pulling them off the market. Bitcoiners who have Bitcoin in self-custody are going to be the main beneficiaries of this, whether they kind of realize that or not. But like, what's the end game here? What happens?
Well, it's like Rajat says, where every Bitcoin runs out at every single price, and Saylor is basically acting as this buyer of first resort or last resort or whatever. There's just this constant bid, and there's only so much Bitcoin that people are willing to sell at $74,000, and Saylor will buy as much as they possibly can with their access to the capital markets, with the instruments that are popular to be able to sell. So this has actually been theorized for like a really long time. I believe, I don't know if it was Satoshi or maybe one of the other early adopters of Bitcoin. On the talk forum, they talked about what would happen if somebody came in and just started buying as much Bitcoin as possible. And essentially they said, like, the more they try to buy, the less they end up being able to buy. And that's the future of MicroStrategy. They're constantly going to be trying to buy Bitcoin, and they'll be able to buy less of it. Yeah. But that's not currently what's happening, because there's an asymmetry of knowledge. There's people who are, there's Arthur Hayes, again, notorious Arthur Hayes here, calling for 500,000 Bitcoin price by the end of the year so that he can hype up the price so he can dump his old coins and be able to buy some more tank tops, right? This guy just, all he wants to do, like, counter trade that guy. That guy's absolutely a menace. And he's the one selling to Saylor, right? These people with tons of old Bitcoin, they're the ones willing to sell at 72,000, and Saylor is not, right? As soon as this is a black hole of Bitcoin, right? Like, their cost of capital compared to the compound annual growth rate projection of Bitcoin is just crazy. It begins to just look insane, like a chart that, like, yeah, who cares about throwing that extra dividend payment to those STRC holders at a certain point, because our balance sheet is just so much. We're just so valuable because of our Bitcoin holdings. So, yeah, MSTR is going to be a multi-trillion dollar company at some point, and they're just going to continue to buy Bitcoin. That's what I see.
I think they could be like the Warren Buffett or the Berkshire Hathaway of Bitcoin. They can buy whatever they want, right? They're just accumulating capital.
But he said he's not going to buy anything else. I mean, that same, I guess, is,
can.
the fog of war stuff going on. But yeah, sorry, Rajat,
Like,
go
he
ahead.
can, right? That's the point, right? He can.
Yeah.
He can do whatever he wants with the money.
Well, what else would you buy right now? Like Bitcoin's the thing to buy right now. You wouldn't want to buy a business that you have to put time and effort and energy into that might or might not. Like he said this multiple times, like most mergers and acquisitions for large corporations, you have to pay a premium for them. They end up being net negative for the shareholders. And there's this huge onboarding, there's this consolidation of work, workers, all this kind of stuff that has to happen. Wouldn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to buy anything else but Bitcoin.
Yeah. But I mean, on a Bitcoin standard, right? Like when, let's say, for example, when the world is on a Bitcoin standard and their Bitcoin isn't growing as fast as, let's say, a company in Bitcoin, right? And everybody's already adopted it. They have 4 million Bitcoin or whatever. Nobody else has any, and there's this companies to be bought, and people are willing to sell them. Like they can do whatever they want. That's the point. They can do whatever they want.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily have to be stuck buying companies. Maybe you guys are right, but they can do literally whatever they want to.
Yep. Yeah.
100%. There might be additional Bitcoin-based infrastructure where it makes sense too. Like you get fees for putting Bitcoin on the Lightning Network, routing fees.
Yeah.
They have a bunch of Bitcoin. I don't know. It could make sense, right? To participate in the Bitcoin network itself in some way. Who knows what else beyond Lightning?
Build a layer 2?
Happening. Sure.
Yeah,
I mean, Blockstream.
Yeah.
Blockstream built a sidechain that's popular, right? They built Liquid.
Right?
Liquid.
Yeah.
I'd be surprised if they didn't build some of that stuff like that. Honestly, like whether it's, I don't know what Tether, or 21 is trying to do. If they've insinuated they're going to build a bunch of different stuff on Bitcoin and for Bitcoin. So we'll see. But Sailor, I'd be shocked if they didn't build stuff for the network. And I think that will be interesting in and of itself. Just again, another marker maybe to which direction he's going and how he's thinking. If they really start coming out with different protocols or layers or products or services on Bitcoin, that's going to be very interesting, I think. And that'll be a whole new conversation. And once again, will be the same stuff. Like, oh, he's just, it's just a facade, who knows what. So that's going to be really interesting.
I agree.
I kind of play it out long-term in my head of like, when I think about the insurance industry right now, I got some close friends who are in insurance, and I just think that the whole insurance itself is the biggest kind of scam ever. It's not in a way because you still need it. Like you want some sort of insurance, but just the way that the fiat mixed with insurance, where there's more and more people, the incentive is to kind of rip people off, to like maximize to try to get it back. Right. And then it ends up costing more and more for the next time and the next person. And they feel like they want to rip it off too, because they feel like they're getting ripped off. It's just not a fair thing. And I feel like imagine if you had, let's say, 1 million Bitcoin and you launched this insurance company where there was literally no chance for you to ever be in any sort of financial issues. You could almost issue this insurance where people almost are incentivized to be honest, where if you don't have any claims for a year, you get like 95% of it back, something like that. And if you had that as like kind of a worldwide insurance, I don't know how it will work, but I'm sure you could utilize like AI and different things to kind of make that become real. But man, just think about how many people that would wipe out if you had the ability to do something like that. Just one part of our lives, if you could kind of innovate and reinvent that industry. And I think that Sailor would be the perfect guy for that, just because they have so much capital. There would be no loss or no risk of them ever being underwater. And it would actually get back to like people being honest and being incentivized to be honest, versus you feel like you're getting ripped off, so you're going to cheat it. You cheated it, so it's more expensive, so more people are mad, so they want to rip it off. It's just like a very sick cycle of fiat and insurance. And I just think that industry, more than anything else, is just ripe for innovation and could be a very profitable thing. I think that'd be a lot more profitable than running a Lightning network, but or a Lightning node, or it could be both too.
Sure.
I think it's coming. I mean, I think there's some companies out there that have been buying Bitcoin, right? New York Bank Mellon, stuff like that. But then there's like Meanwhile, they did denominate. You can look them up. They denominate their
Meanwhile? I keep seeing that. Is that on your channel, Brennan?
Yeah. So they're the sponsor on our channel, and they are Bitcoin denominated life insurance company. So it's all you can look up their financial statements, everything. It's all denominated in Bitcoin. which is really interesting to see because I really haven't seen anyone's actual statements all denominated in Bitcoin. So it's actually pretty cool. You can go to our website and look at it all. But aside from that, I always battled and argued with one of my buddies who was a whole life insurance guy for a long time. And I was like, yeah, this is great. Rockefeller and all these guys do it. And I get it. Like that's awesome. But to your point, it doesn't make sense on a fiat system. In a fiat system, that's the problem with it. So it's like, for Bitcoin, like why would I buy Bitcoin when I'm guaranteed 3, 4, or 5% back in a whole life insurance policy, and like I can lend against it? Well, like I can do that with Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's also going up at 30, 50, 70% a year. So like why would I do that and just take the 3 or 4% from the bonds that all the insurance companies doing is generally buying something in the bond market, and then I'm getting 4 or 5% back. So I'm losing on the rate that I'm getting back, and there's some tax advantages, things like that. But my whole point with all this, though, is that meanwhile, like some of these companies are just using Bitcoin, to your point, Jor, where it's like the incentives were just upside down in insurance. And you could look at like Lloyd of London. I'm going on a tangent really quick here, but like Lloyd's of London. So like, again, classic, like, the city of London for hundreds of years now, the central banking and the banking cartel, what have they been doing? They've been taking the side of both, taking both sides of the trade here. So the Vickers Armament Company, right? Selling ammunition to both sides of World War I, or the city of London, what's going on in Iran, the Strait of Hormuz. Well, guess what? They had a bunch of proxies and they would F up ships in the region. And then guess who owns all the insurance on all the ships? Lloyd's of London. And so like, you can't make this stuff up. So, it's like they're hemorrhaging, extorting the whole market. And that's not to go down that road because we're getting toward the end of the show, but I think that's kind of what's going on in the Straits right now. And a lot of people just don't want to see it. They don't want to admit it. UK is just getting absolutely hammered, and the Lloyd's of London's been completely exposed. And that's where Trump said, yeah, no, we'll actually back all the ships in that region. We'll provide the insurance. And so I think the throat's being ripped out of a lot of the banking cartel, and really no one sees it because the media, of course, people just don't think like that. So all that being said, again, insurance, though, coming back to us, it starts to work when you're on a Bitcoin standard. It's like, meanwhile, if you're putting in a 10 Bitcoin premium policy, by the end of that, whatever it is, 10 years or 30 years, whatever you're doing, then you would have 18 Bitcoin. And there's ways they do that, and they use old, not to go down the rabbit holes with it, but you can go look it up. But it's that they use old, they find whales, they have, miners, they do these swaps basically to adjust the cost basis of each other's Bitcoin, so people aren't incurring taxes. And they take there's like a 3% spread, and everyone like takes a 1%, fee off of that basically. And so, not going to sit here and explain it and lose a bunch of people, but it's really fascinating. And to the whole point of incentives, what we've been talking about all show is the incentives are fixed if you use Bitcoin, and you start seeing it. You're like, oh my gosh, like this is what I've been waiting for. This is what I was arguing about with my buddy who's a fiat whole life insurance guy, and you just didn't know it at the time. But the incentives need to be flipped with the money you use, and then everything starts to heal. Now it makes sense. Now the insurance actually makes sense if you want it. If you feel like you need it, great, then here it is. But you denominate it and do it in Bitcoin, everything changes. So anyway, not to plug them and shill them, but it's a good point, Jor, because it is effed up. People are getting mad at insurance, rightfully so, but the insurance, like we said earlier, just got to capitalism harder. Like, what do you mean? Like, you just got to learn the game. It's like, hey, Michael, right. No one can learn the game because no one has time. They're on the fiat hamster wheel, so they don't have time to learn the effing game. So like, how do we fix that? How do you out propagandize the state? You can't have 8 billion people just learn the existing system because they don't have time to, because they're stuck on a fiat hamster wheel. So we need to rip them off that somehow. Big game. It's a big goal, but we're going to do it.
It's a worthwhile mission, though.
It is. It's the most worthwhile one I've found. I'm sure for you guys too. And many in the chat.
Boys, kind of mentioned it just now, but we'll start wrapping up here. I just want to say, though, I don't know if I've ever seen a more active chat going through here, like in anything I've ever been a part of
on
before.
Fire chat.
Like,
so many conversations.
Yes.
That's the hard thing. It's like impossible to even like pay attention to anything here. So I don't know if it's okay. At all. Like, what? Sorry, Jack, go ahead.
I was just saying I can't keep up at all. I agree with you.
It is what it is, right? Like, we're kind of ripping conversation here anyway. So sometimes it's nice to have chat with questions, and
true.
Sometimes we will do that some weeks, but we basically referenced it a couple times, but we haven't really answered there's a lot of questions we didn't get to here, but and that might be a nice, a good reason for you to go over to the Bitcoin Mastermind channel and ask those questions in the comment section as opposed to in the live chat. It could be topics that we end up bringing up in the future. We could answer them in the comment section. That's another reason why you want to be over there asking those questions.
Yep.
We got, I mean, subscribers is a little bit of a fiat metric, I would say, but we're pretty damn close to 500 right now. On my screen, it shows 483. So I think by the end of this stream here, by the end of today, hopefully we can have at least 500 in there. I think that'd be a pretty good milestone. Yeah. But yeah, I think it just makes sense to have everybody kind of in the same place, because it's much easier on our end when we can see the conversations kind of in a chronological order. Right now, there's 5 different conversations happening, and it's like impossible to even pay attention to anything of it. So we want to be engaged here. That's the reason why we do this live stream, is we want to look for good comments. If there's something worth talking about, we bring it up on screen, we discuss it, and it just makes it much easier from our perspective and much more enjoyable from your perspective if it's all kind of in the same place. So eventually we are going to consolidate here. We're going to stop streaming to all of our different channels. I don't know when that's going to be, but I mean, the faster we can kind of move over there, the faster we can make that happen. We want to make sure we get everybody along the way here. We don't want to leave any soldiers behind, but at some point we're going to have to. So big shout out to, look at the chats here.
Yeah. Chat's on fire. Thank you guys.
The chat's buzzing. So anyways, fellas, let's, really good show today. Really good conversation. I wish there was more of this stuff on the internet, but I guess that's why we're creating it ourselves. So it is a mastermind of us 4, Robin, everybody in the chat here. There's so many good ideas, so many intelligent people here. Everybody's moving in the same direction. And that's why I'm so bullish on our future here in Bitcoin and as civilization. Kind of crazy to say, but it's hard to be bullish right now, but I'm extremely bullish on where this thing's going, especially if you got Bitcoin in self-custody. Don't be mad at Sailor. Let him pump your bags. Sit back. Just get it offline. So, boys, let's wrap things up here. First of all, big shout out to Robin behind the scenes today for making things happen.
Yes.
He said, should we make a sub goal for when we consolidate to mastermind only? That's a good question. What do you guys think?
2100.
I think we should do it when we have a certain amount of people watching every week on the mastermind.
So that's probably a good idea.
When we have 100 people watching every week consistently, let's say 5 weeks in a row, we have 100 people watching each week.
That's a good idea.
So we got, we're pretty damn close. We're sneaking up on 500 here. So we got 222 people watching over there right now. Yeah, I like that idea, Rajat. I think that's the best way to do it. So when we get a stream, when we have over 100 people on the mastermind, all hanging out in there, because there was much more than that all combined between the 4 channels here plus the mastermind. So if everybody just kind of goes over there, and then we can just consolidate. We'll be on one stream. You don't have to bounce between channels. Everybody can chat together, have the same conversation. It just makes sense, just like Bitcoin. It's very simple. It just makes sense. Let's flock towards that. So, boys, let's wrap things up. Any final thoughts for the week?
Shout out to Dreamhopper, who sent us $1.99 and said it's going to 1 million. Nice. We didn't address that there. Starred. And yeah, nothing else from me. Just appreciate the good chat, and we'll see you guys next week.
Great to see everybody. Do your homework. Remove the ego and the hubris. We all do. We all have to, and we all still can do it. I know I can be better. And appreciate all you guys. Great chat today. Fire stuff. Just can't wait till next week.